Hello everyone. We have seen a lot of IPOs being launched lately, but today we'll be discussing about an NFO. But before I get into the details, some of you might be wondering what exactly is an NFO. A new fund offer is how an asset management company or a mutual fund company launches a new fund on a first subscription basis for financing its purchase of securities. And today we'll be looking at IDFC Multi-Cap Fund, which launches on 12th November. To take this ahead with us, we have Mr. Gaurav Parija, who is the head of sales and marketing at IDFC Asset Management Company. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you, Piyush, and thank you, Upstocks, for having us on the show.
It's a pleasure to have you, sir. So, let's get started. Could you please help us understand how are multi-cap funds different from flexi-cap funds or even large and mid-cap funds for that matter?
So thanks, Piyush. I think it's a great question to start with. So when we went about doing the research for launching the multi-cap, like you pointed out, we looked at how the other flexi-cap funds are placed, how the large and mid-cap category is placed. And what we find is, irrespective of the change of categorization, typically it is observed that a flexi-cap fund or a large mid-cap fund tends to have a significantly higher weightage to the large cap segment. Now, the big difference the multi-cap fund has is that given the mandate that you need to be 25% in each of the three caps, large cap, mid-cap, and small cap, it brings in that additional discipline and hence does not skew your portfolio to one segment, which is typically large cap. So the biggest difference we saw between a multi-cap fund and the other two categories we refer to is the discipline in which the exposure to large caps is limited to an extent.
Okay, thanks. So what are the benefits of investing in a multi-cap fund?
So like I mentioned, I think the big benefits of investing in the multi-cap fund are four. Firstly, the mandate-driven allocation of a minimum 25% across the three caps ensure that at all given points of time, at most given points of time, you would have a minimum of 25% in large caps, a minimum of 25% in mid cap, and a minimum of 25% in small cap. The portfolio manager has the flexibility to go 25% on the balance and the remaining portion. And the way we've looked at the 25 is we can take a tactical cash call, we can go tactically into international stocks, we can increase the exposure into some of the caps within the balance 25. Because of this discipline and the mandate, it also to an extent lessens the portfolio manager's bias towards a particular market cap. And like I mentioned in the earlier question, the tendency for most portfolio managers as the fund size grows large is to move to the large cap segment. And the fourth benefit of investing in a multi-cap fund is that it reduces recency bias. And recency biases typically comes through that if a particular market cap does well or a segment does well, the portfolio manager tends to overweight that segment. Now, given the strict mandates, the multi-cap will ensure that there is no significant deviation from the market caps it can invest in.
So, okay, what prompted you to launch a multi-cap fund at this point? And also, what is your view on current market valuations?
No, again, a very good question and an apt question in today's times. And I think when we were internally discussing whether we should launch it, markets having gone up significantly over the last year, it's a good time or not. We realized two, three things. That firstly, the disciplined approach of a multi-cap ensures that your bias in getting skewed to a particular cap is limited. Secondly, we've observed the multi-cap index for the last 10, 11 years. And what we find that there are two ways to invest. Either you come in through a systematic investment plan or you come in through a lump sum mode. Now, historically, when we looked at the multi-cap index, we find that the 5-year rolling SIP is around 12%. There have been only 3 instances where your 5-year SIP has actually become negative. And the last year in the pandemic was one such instance. But more often than not, your 5-year SIPs have given a fairly decent return. When it comes to lump sum, and there is very interesting data which we put out, that even if you had come, and we've taken data from 2010, that in any year since the last 11 years, if you had come in on a 1-year, 3-year, 5-year basis, the returns have been fairly good, even if you came in at the peaks of those markets or those years. And hence we realized that while you cannot time your entry into a market, if you're a long-term investment, the underlying fund has a very strict mandate and discipline. The time really doesn't matter as to when you're launching the NFO.
Okay. You have stated that diversification will be the focus rather than prediction. Could you share some key factors that will determine allocation in this fund or parameters of stock selection?
Sure, Piyush. I think, like we mentioned, it's a 3D process with diversification being one of the 3Ds. The focus will be on strong level of governance, with stock selection. The focus is also going to be on quality management and track record. Now, when we mean or when we refer to the term quality management, we will focus on companies that have independent boards, good accounting and audit practices. We look at return of capital via dividend and / buyback track records. So these are the additional points than just looking at ROCE is what the fund will look at. Management will also be very cognizant of whether management is careful of capital allocation, what is the inherent profitability and the cash flow in the stock we are buying. On the balance sheet side, I think leverage is one aspect we will focus on, because we find that not just in a good cycle, we would look to also buy companies that have met the leverage expectations during the bad cycles as well.
Okay. So moving on, any sectors, trends will the fund focus on?
Sadly, Piyush, because of the code of conduct, we cannot give out the sector allocations at this stage.
Okay.
Having said that, the fund does not intend to have significant over or underweight to the benchmark, which is the Nifty 500 multi-cap index, which is 50 large cap, 25 mid cap, and the 25 small cap.
Okay. You've already answered the next question, so I'll move on to the other question. So how often will the portfolio be rebalanced?
The portfolio is expected to be rebalanced quarterly, and we will rebalance it to the following mandates. The IDFC multi-cap would have a mandate of investing at least 30% in large caps. The fund can go up to a maximum 35% in mid cap and a maximum 30% in small caps. So given these filters and benchmarks, the fund will rebalance itself on a quarterly basis.
Okay. So how will IDFC AMC differentiate its multi-cap fund from the others in the market?
On the differentiation with the other funds, again, Piyush, sadly, I will not be able to comment on how others are positioned because that's beyond my ambit. I will restrict the comments on how we are positioned. I think our multi-cap is uniquely positioned because it follows what we call a 3D process. The 3 Ds being discipline, diversity, and dependability. Diversity refers to the fund being positioned across market cap as well as sectors. Like I said, as per the mandate, the fund has to invest 25% in each of the 3 cap segments, which is large cap, mid cap, small cap, with inherent restrictions and limitations on the mid and small cap. Hence, it's a very diversified approach to creating a portfolio. On the discipline side, the endeavor has been towards limiting the fund manager bias. And that's the reason we are putting an internal restriction saying that the mid cap segment cannot go more than 35%. And on the small cap, we cannot go more than 30%. Whereas in the large cap segment, we will always maintain a minimum of 30%. Like you referred to in an earlier question, the endeavor is to do a quarterly rebalancing and bring the limits back to the prescribed levels. The last of the D is dependability. This describes what our stock selection will focus on. Like I mentioned earlier, the focus will be on quality management with an independent board and a strong level of governance. We will also focus on companies where management is careful of capital allocation and inherent profitability. And lastly, where cash flow is displayed with a track record, either through a dividend payout or a buyback.
Okay. In your presentation, you emphasize that the multi-cap approach has outperformed more than the diversified approach of Nifty 500. Can you shed some light on this?
When we compare the NSE 50 multi-cap index, which like I said, is 50 large cap, 25 mid cap, 25 small caps, with the NSE 500 index, we find that most of the times the drawdowns of multi-cap index is made up by the outperformance that follows a rough or a tough year. The lower drawdowns and higher up moves have meant that the outperformance of the strategy over a long term, when I say long term, we pull the data way back to 2010, has been much better than the Nifty 500. Now, I would, however, caution that the returns mentioned here are basis our study of past data, and like always, past performance may or may not be sustained in the future.
Okay. That gets me to the next question. Which kind of investor is this fund best suitable for? And what is the investment horizon an investor should keep in mind when investing in this NFO?
The investor type which is best suited in this fund are those investors who do not want to guess the winners of the next cycle. I think one of the points and the narrative we've created in the MyDFC Multi-Cap Fund is that winners rotate, which effectively means in some years, large caps tend to do well. The next year, mid caps tend to do well, and then the small caps. Now, if you as an investor, you don't want to be outguessing as to which cap will do well, this is the fund you should buy because of all the points I mentioned, especially the discipline of keeping a certain minimum to each of the market cap segments. Now, in all practical cases, the answer to the second question of how long, we've always maintained that equity is a long-term investment and we would expect investors to come in at least with a 5-year view of staying in the fund.
Okay. With an increased participation of investors in equities, as a fund manager, how do you view these developments?
While there is a lot of talk over the last year of the increased retail participation in equities, the number of demat accounts being opened, number of broking accounts being opened, if you really cut and slice the data, the amount of money going into equities from household savings is still very low. Now we are getting excited because the base is low and we've gone significantly higher. I think it's a great sign that people are now getting far more comfortable in this asset class equity. We think clearly many of them might have come because of the market returns over the short term, but like in everything else, as markets tend to normalize, a lot of people will get far more comfortable in staying in this asset class. I think the new generation is far more comfortable in this asset class than what was earlier. So it's a great sign.
Okay. And that was the last question, Gaurav. Thank you so much for joining in. It was such a pleasure to have you. We wish you all the best from Upstocks.
Thank you, Piyush, and thank you and Upstocks again for giving IDFC an opportunity to come on your show.
Brokerage shall not exceed SEBI specified limit. Investment in securities market are subject to market risk. Read all the related documents carefully before investing.